Good morning. It is Monday, November 11th. All the way up until the year 1954, after World War I was ended, it was known as Armistice Day. The day that ended the war on the 11th minute of the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, World War I ended. Bad guys lost, good guys won. A lot of people said, hey, can we get a little bit of respect, though, for the vets, those who went to war and won, those who went and fought and came back alive? Can we get a little appreciation for them? Old President Eisenhower in 1954 said, we will no longer have Armistice Day. We will change that instead to Veterans Day. And Veterans Day each year is a perfect time to remember that although we all live our own individual lives and we have our own individual cliques, in our own individual little world that we live in, walking amongst us are everyday heroes. For us, we have a man who's almost 50, who was a state police detective for a long time, but before that, fresh out of high school, in a photo that he just displayed to the world yesterday on the birthday of the Marine Corps, a little baby-faced, fresh-faced man from Shelbyville, Indiana, signed a line stating that he knew what the consequences were. He knew what could possibly happen. He knew that ultimately it could be his life, but still said, I would like to protect this country. Happy Veterans Day, Todd McComas.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it.
He was a Marine, a devil dog, a screamer. We appreciate you, Todd. And I think today is a great day to remember that those superheroes that walked amongst us, even though you might not be for the war, you might not be for what we're fighting for, it might have gotten a little bit political as opposed to what it once was, you should definitely be for the warrior. The warrior is just like you or me. They just so happen to have a selflessness level and a badassness level that we cannot get to. And for that, we thank you, Todd, and we thank all the women and men who chose, who are choosing, and will choose in the future to serve our military. Happy Veterans Day. Buy them a coffee, buy them a beer, give them a thanks every day. But today is a great day to remember that. Moving forward, today is also the day after the Indianapolis Colts lost to the Miami Dolphins.
Yikes.
Tough night last night. We will forever remember the game that Brian Hoyer played quarterback against the Miami Dolphins and lost to an organization that is trying to lose. Dolphins fans tweeting me in abundance, hey, you don't know football yet if you think the Dolphins are trying to lose games. Listen, dumbasses. I was on a team that was hindsight sucking for lucking, okay, for the Andrew Luck. I was on that team. Obviously, the players are not trying to tank. Obviously, the coaches are not trying to tank. This is something that is above them. This is something that although the players are just trying to earn their paycheck, and we talked about it, if Ryan Fitzpatrick's going to be your quarterback, he'll mess around
and win the rest of them.
every game. It's only a matter of time before they get Ryan Fitzpatrick off the field. By the way, they tried to in the fourth quarter with 4 minutes left on a drive that could seal the game for them. A call comes down from the sky to the ref. They tap on their little ear thing. They look at Ryan Fitzpatrick. You're out of the game. He goes, what are you talking about? He literally goes, what are you talking about? And the thing about it is, whenever you see a player literally look at the ref, like, what are you even referring to? And the ref goes, no, you got to get out. And what are you talking about? They go, it's a concussion from 7 plays ago. 7 plays ago. That is definitely fodder for a little bit of a conspiracy theory.
Without question.
But now I got Dolphins fans tell me, well, you haven't watched their games if you think they're trying to lose. It's like, well, the year we were 2-16, there was like 8 games we could have won. We lost those close games, though, and a lot of people say, well, maybe it was the coverages that they were choosing to play in situations. Like, for instance, Miami Dolphins against the Pittsburgh Steelers. 3rd and 22. Cover 0 with corners that have no clue what they're doing in the cover 0. Bang, Steelers get the win over the Dolphins whenever they were dominant early. So I thought for sure yesterday, whenever Fitzpatrick got called out of the game by somebody, nobody even knows who it is, somebody, I was like, oh, perfect. The refs are going to give us this game. Dolphins front office has made the call in. They want us to lose. Instead, no, Hoyer Just couldn't complete a pass. To the other team, no problem. To the Colts, a little bit of a struggle. Adam Vinatieri misses a massive extra point. Massive extra point. I got a lot of people telling me, oh, you're going to make excuses for him? No. He hit that ball fat. It was an ugly kick in a massive situation. Not something that Adam Vinatieri does, by the way. Last week, I explained to people the field goal operation. Hey, the laces, unbeknownst to a lot of people who are diehard football fans, are actually on the long snapper. Yes, I know you saw Jim Carrey play in a comedic movie. Yes, I know that you learned about Finkel, Einhorn, and Marino. Yes, I know you learned about death threats that happened, and Dan Marino was blamed for the laces out. And that has become the national narrative because in high school football, that is the expectation. In college football, that is the expectation that the operation isn't as honed in. But nowadays in the NFL, with long snappers making millions and millions of dollars, they are judged on their lace placement. That's just the way it is. 1.25 operation, that's what the snapper's job is. The holder's job is to put the ball down on the spot, get the proper lean, and fix the laces if there needs to be a little bit of adjusting. And then the kicker's job is obviously to make a kick. Yesterday on that extra point, perfect operation. Vinatieri hit it fat and missed it. Although he made 2 field goals earlier in the game, we'll forget about those. Let's talk about the extra point that was missed. Everybody's talking, is it time for Vinatieri to hang it up? I talked to Vinatieri earlier in the year whenever Stephen Holder alluded to Vinatieri saying that he was going to retire, and then the internet went a buzz, and Vinatieri doesn't have an iPhone, so he was on that plane ride home. Didn't even know that the world was talking about him retiring until he landed, I think. He just so happened to have like 3 text messages from me, like basically, hey, you're the man. Don't worry about any of this. And he wakes up right out of his slumber, right off the plane. Ding, 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 ding. His phone's going off. Oh, the world wants me to retire. I talked to him that night, and he said, I said, how much longer do you think you're going to do it? You know, because this is a moment that we had together. I didn't ask him if he was going to retire because I had to go and get up the next morning, and I had an open microphone, and I don't trust myself with a filter enough. I don't trust myself to know things and just like be able to just turn it off. I think people know that about me too. Like my friends and family, they know that like, hey, there's probably a good chance if Pat hears something, he's going to say it. I mean, that's just the way it goes, and I think that's why our show does well. I think that's potentially why our show does. Hey, you want to talk about humans being unfiltered? I'm pretty much unfiltered, aside from these damn FCC rules that can cost us a lot of money, and I like to look out for my people. So I asked Vinny, I said, how much longer are you going to go for? I don't want to know if you're going to retire. I mean, that's your world, not mine, and I don't even know if you've even thought about it, but how much longer are you going to go for? He said, I've always said, and this is true, as long as I can help my team, I'll continue to kick. As soon as I start hurting my team, I'll be done with it. A lot of people right now are saying Vinatieri's hurting his team. Yesterday is an indication of that. Could have a younger Vinatieri made that kick last week in Heinz Field, which is notoriously the hardest place to kick, kicking into the open end, which is notoriously the hardest place to kick into, with the laces straight back? A younger Vinny, could he have made it? I would assume so. Greatest kicker of all time. Could he have missed it, though, as a younger kicker? I assume so. Greatest kicker of all time. I think Justin Tucker, that's why the Wolf Pack over there with Justin Tucker is so impressive. Morgan Cox, Sam Cook, and Justin Tucker, because it's an operation. Justin Tucker gets a lot of credit, as he should, because he hits the purest ball I've seen in a long, long time. But that operation is very clean. It's like whenever Vinatieri hit like 40-some straight, and we have the NFL record for it. Overton was snapping perfectly. I mean, all I had to do was just sit there, put the ball down, and get the hell out of the way. It's an entire operational thing. So does Vinny feel that today, I wonder? I don't know. Last night I sent him a motivational text. I got one back. He was bummed. I haven't heard a text like this from Vinny, I don't think, ever. So I'll be excited to see how that all plays out. I'm not going to tell him to do anything, though, by the way. He's earned the right to do whatever the hell he wants to do. I think that's how Ballard and Frank Reich are looking at it, too. Because in a playoff game, let's say the Colts somehow get past this Hoyer issue, get Jacoby Brissett, who looks more and more like an MVP candidate, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
With Jacoby in, we beat Patrick Mahomes' Chiefs. Without Jacoby, we lose to the Dolphins. I don't know how much bigger of a case I got to make for Jacoby Brissett to be an MVP. Also, T.Y. Hilton's not playing, which is a little bit difficult. And Ryan Fitzpatrick is...
Just, one of the best quarterbacks in the history of football.
And we talked about it last week. The brain of a Harvard man, the heart of a plumber.
Bingo.
He had to get pulled off the game because of potential brain injury. And he said, what are we doing here? This is what I do. I throw my face into concussions. That's what I do. That was wild. They just pulled him out of the game. I've never seen anything like that, especially in the fourth quarter with 4 minutes left in a big-time drive, a game-sealing drive, just to pull a guy out. That was insane. But let's say Jacoby Brissett gets back. The road does not get easier for the Indianapolis Colts here. The road does not get easier. They got the Jacksonville Jags this weekend, then the Texans, then they got the Saints at some point, the Panthers at some point. I mean, it is not an easy road. But if Jacoby Brissett is at the helm, I have faith. So let's say the Colts somehow rally off a way to get back into the playoffs. And I've been taking a lot of heat on the internet, by the way, for all the things that I've said about the Indianapolis Colts. People are expecting me to be completely off the train. I'm not all the way off the train. I still think there's a good chance he can make it into the playoffs, make it into the dance, only if Jacoby gets back. By the way, Hoyer, what are we doing?
It's tough,
Some of those situations are very tough to watch. Great interception in the end zone on Ebron, though, by the way. I happened to be there. I think that was a good interception. I mean, but if that's a touchdown, not the other way, we're not even talking about any of this.
His knee hit the ground.
Who's that?
Before the defender had control of the ball.
Oh, you're saying he had the ball?
I say incomplete pass. I lean toward that.
What
do I know?
I don't know if the ball ever hit the ground, so I don't think you can call an incomplete pass. I just don't. There's a lot of things that happen there. So it's just a very interesting series of events. So let's say the Colts make it to the playoffs, and you have a game-winning kick, and you had Vinatieri on your team, and he leaves, gets forced out, whatever it is, and you bring in another guy, and that guy just all over himself. What are you going to do? You're going to be like, well, we had the guy that would notoriously step up and make this. Are those days behind him? I don't know. But this is let's just assume in the kicking world, though, whenever you think you're just going to go find one, that's just going to be a plug-and-place operation. That's not the way it goes, by the way. That's not the next guy that could potentially, or lady, I don't know honestly what's out there. I have no idea. The next guy or lady that comes in and kicks for the Colts, if the Colts do move on from Vinny and Vinny decides to move on or whatever it is, I'm not saying this is going to happen, but if it happens, that person could be just as bad as Ty Schmidt at kicking field goals.
Yeah.
You have no clue what this person's going to do. It took the Steelers a few guys. Whenever Sweejum got hurt, Scobie came in, even notable guys, notorious guys. Nugent was up there for the New England Patriots for a little bit. It's hard to find a kicker nowadays. They are not in abundance. Yeah, you see guys kicking on Instagram and stuff like that. Those are only the makes. And I'm saying that because I did that whenever I was training for the Bears. I didn't put any misses up there. You're not going to see any guys put up misses on the thing. So is there a chance that there's a better kicker out there than Vinatieri? Maybe on the internet. The guy's better than Vinatieri. But it's hard to just say, hey, this guy's had a rough season. He's missed some kicks he has. Last week, I'm not putting 100% of the blame on him because it was the entire operation. Luke Rhodes, the snapper, even came out and said that. I'm not putting the blame on just Luke Rhodes or Rigoberto. I think they bounced back perfectly, especially in something that revolves around, what are small inches?
Millimeters?
Centimeters.
Yeah, those things. And milliseconds as well. Whenever things are that quick, it's easy to kind of paralysis by analysis, not be able to bounce back. The ability and wherewithal by Luke Rhodes and Rigoberto to bounce back after sending back a laces straight back on a game winner. By the way, that is what he has to think about too, the long snapper. Like, you guys could all come after me for explaining the operation, but the long snapper, that could have been something that could have gotten in his mind. It didn't. He bounced back. But Vinny missing kicks is not good for Vinny. It's not good for anybody. It's not good for the Colts. He knows that. I'll be excited to see what happens.
Here's why you don't give up on the Colts. The three teams that are ahead of them right now for the playoffs are the Bills, the Steelers, and the Raiders, and all those teams have their own issues as well.
Yeah, and I was thinking about Hoyer playing quarterback yesterday. I'm like, what is this guy, like our third stringer or whatever? He's actually like our fourth or fifth stringer. He wasn't even on our team for most of camp, right? He came in very late, this guy. Now, granted, Mason Rudolph, also same thing, third, fourth stringer, whatever it is for the Steelers. But also, whenever you miss T.Y. Hilton, there's a lot of excuses to go around for why the Colts lost yesterday. But it's the Dolphins, man. You can't lose to the Dolphins. You just can't do it. I was at the game yesterday, and we were watching. I was sitting next to Bill Polian, which was a very interesting experience, listening to a GM break down a play, every single play, who's at fault, who needs to do better, what happens here, why is this happening. I asked him a couple questions. I'm like, what do you think of that? And he goes, I mean, that's basically what he is. I was like, that's a very savage answer. Just the thought of Bill Polian doing that for every single game that he's ever GM'd was awesome to kind of get an inside. Then you see Peyton and his kid. It was cool to see them. I was there for the Dwight Freeney Ring of Honor ceremony. Congrats to Dwight Freeney getting into Ring of Honor. His name's up on the stadium, the whole thing. It was a blast. It was very cool. Saw Bob Sanders. Looked like Bob Sanders could rip somebody's head off right now. Right now, Bob Sanders could still. By the way, Bob says he watches the show.
Oh,
Let's go.
He said, I like what you do, man. I was like, thank you, Bob. It means a lot. I appreciate that. Edgerrin James needs to go in the Hall of Fame. Saw him yesterday. Got a chance to see a lot of old friends. I mean, it was awesome. Clint Session. Whew, Clint Session, man. For those of you who don't know who Clint Session is, he's one of the most hilarious electric humans ever exist. Went to University of Pittsburgh. He was linebacker for the Colts. Led the Colts in tackles most years. Then he went down to the Jacksonville Jaguars, got broken off. And I think he had 3 concussions in one game. That's the way he played, though. That's the way he banged. He banged folks. And he and I happen to be friends, which is a very interesting thing. And running into him, it was just great. It was awesome seeing everybody. It was really cool. Congrats to Dwight Freeney. But while we're watching that game, Robert Mathis, who's coaching on the team, consulting on the team, he came out and joined us. DT, David Thornton, who was also working for the team right now as player relations or something like that. Very important job. He's basically the direct correlation between front office and the locker room. He used to play for the Colts. He comes out. And we all just look at Robert and DT like it's their fault. We're like, what the hell is going on there? You got Peyton Manning in the building right now. You got all these OGs in the building, and we're losing to the Dolphins. What the hell's going on out there? And Robert and DT were like, they did like this clap. Like, I don't know, man. We didn't think this was going to happen either. I think it was a surprising day to a lot of people. But, man, when you throw 3 picks, whenever those types of things happen and you're facing Fitzmagic, I mean, that's just – by the way, I think it was the only bet I lost yesterday. And the Chiefs, which we'll talk to. We'll talk about all these things. I had to get that out of the way off a jump, by the way. I was sick of seeing the tweets. I didn't get a chance to go on Get Up because I was at Dwight Freeney's ceremony. Couldn't get a plane out there. Also, I was supposed to be in Los Angeles, so there was a lot of travel miscommunication. There's no way that was accurate. So a lot of things happened. So I couldn't get up. But, boy, if I was on there this morning, I assumed it would have been ugly. Bad day for the brand yesterday. Bad day for the Colts yesterday. Kind of thankful that the planes didn't work. A recent Gallup survey shows Americans worry more about burglary than almost any other crime. More than mugging, more than terrorism, more than car theft, and even murder. According to studies, just over 10% of break-ins are planned beforehand. The rest are just spur of the moment. Crimes of opportunity. In other words, random. According to the FBI, the average loss in a burglary is over $2,000. And the crazy thing about that is only 1 in 5 homes have home security. That's because most companies of the past didn't make it easy. It's too expensive, too intrusive, too much of a hassle. Comfort was a pain in the ass. SimpliSafe came in and transformed the home security business by breaking down the barriers to get you the best, most reliable, and comprehensive protection available. SimpliSafe protects every door, window, and room with 24/7 professional monitoring. The police dispatch is up to 3.5 times faster because they use video verification. There's no contract, no hidden fees, and no fine print. It's designed to blend right into your home. No wires, no drilling. It's easy to order, easy to set up, usually in under 60 minutes.
Wow.
Ty, you're going to love this. SimpliSafe has won a ton of awards. From CNET to the New York Times Wirecutter, prices are always fair and honest. Around-the-clock monitoring is just $15 a month. Visit SimpliSafe.com/Pat. You'll get free shipping and a 60-day risk-free trial. You've got nothing to lose. That's SimpliSafe.com/PAT. SimpliSafe.com/Pat. All right, we'll cover the entire NFL in its entirety. Situations are situational on the other side. Lamar Jackson's a video game. Congratulations to the Dallas Cowboys who gave birth to prime-time Kirk Cousins yesterday, and a lot more. PJ Fleck also joining us in about 20 minutes to talk about the Minnesota Gophers who rode the boat right over the Penn State Nittany Lions. You're listening to the Pat McAfee Show. Welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show. It is 10:23, 10:24 now. Ooh, got it as the clock turned. Monday, November 11th. Happy Veterans Day here in Indianapolis with the boys. Veteran Todd. Am I allowed to do that?
Yep. I think it's paying homage, showing respect.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, I have some soft ass from the internet tell me that I shouldn't do it. But normally they aren't Marines who say, normally it's a bunch of, twerps.
Some nerd. Don't know nothing from nothing.
Yeah, I hate those.
Yeah.
Those nerds, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
You can do it for sure.
Thanks for letting me
could
know
not
how
do it.
I should feel about that.
Diggs, don't be so hard on yourself. At Tone Diggs with a Z. At Nick Morado. At Ty Schmidt. At Viva Lazito. At Evan Foxy. And my brother is controlling the board. Attaboy Jay. We haven't heard any Jason McAfee bangers yet today. We'll get to those. The NFL yesterday was unpredictable. Unpredictable, to say the least. Let alone the Dolphins getting win when we all know the Dolphins organization is trying to lose. Mm-hmm. You haven't watched a game if you say that. Yeah, they are. Okay? They traded away the defensive MVP frontrunner right now. He didn't want to be a Dolphin. Well, because you guys weren't trying to win. That is why he didn't want to be it. You traded away the left tackle. You traded away the running back.
Best receiver.
The best receiver. I mean, the list goes on. And still being able to win, by the way. It'd be amazing to think of what that Dolphins team would be if they had the defensive MVP front runner in Minkah Fitzpatrick. Pittsburgh shirts up for sale now. 20% off. Use code VETS because it's Veterans Day. Let alone if they have Laramie Tunzel playing there. Let alone if they have Fuller or whatever. Let alone they have Kenyon Drake. That team, they beat the Colts yesterday. Brian Hoyer playing quarterback, so let's relax. But still, that team could have been very good. I mean, that's real. But the people who have been reaping the benefits of the Dolphins trying to tank, the Pittsburgh Steelers right now look like a real football team.
Still curtains back, baby.
Still curtains all the way back. That defensive line is a game record. They are game changers. Cam Hayward last week is the reason why Hoyer's playing football because he put Quentin Nelson back on top of Jacoby Brissett. Minkah Fitzpatrick has like 17 touchdowns. Came out of nowhere. Year 2. Got traded for a first-round pick. Everybody's like, wait, this doesn't make sense. Ben Roethlisberger just got hurt. Why are they giving up a first-round pick for a guy? It's like, well, they saw the yard sale going on down in Miami and thought they could get a pretty good deal. And they did. Minkah has changed the game over there for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Probably should have given up like 4 or 5 first-round picks, in my opinion. Whoa. Like we got an easy steal of a deal.
Now, granted, could the Miami Dolphins have predicted that Minkah Fitzpatrick would become this dominant? Now, history tells us that a player grows the most between the first year and the second year because this is the first time he has downtime. This is the first time he has money. This is the first time he's learned how to watch film professionally. So you get a chance to really watch the growth between the first year and the second year. So the Dolphins didn't even get a chance to see this guy in his second year, which is supposed to be your biggest growth year. Now he might be winning defensive MVP. And the Steelers are right back in the mix of things. Tommy John came through, left baseball, decided to take a stop in the Three River City, attack Ben Roethlisberger, who now has one of the worst beards of all time.
He's giving up. He's giving up.
Ducky Hodges gets a win for him in Los Angeles, and now Mason Rudolph is the ultimate game manager, and you can win with your defense being dominant. Pittsburgh Steelers fans know that. It's been like that for a long time. You would hope that your offense can move the ball a little bit, which it seems like they can whenever they have to. Will they be able to whenever you really need it? I mean, time will tell. Time will tell. But that defense is massive, and the Rams are in trouble.
Yeah, the Rams only scored 3 points, and they had a lot of chances. Like the Steelers' offense for most of that game, 99% of that game, did absolutely nothing. Like, which worries me going forward.
I feel like you Yinzers, though, love it. You know, like it's a close game. Ben's not even in there.
Oh, yeah.
The only Roethlisberger we got is at Permani's. Roethlisberger, no cheese, please.
I Googled for probably 2 hours yesterday to see if there was any advancements in Tommy John recovery surgery or anything like that, or if I could donate my elbow to Ben, something like that. See if we get this offense going. I'm still pulling for Duck to get in there at some point, but Mason played all right. He played all right.
Well, the Steelers are on a little bit of a win streak. The Browns just started a win streak, and they face off on Thursday Night Football at the same exact time. Matt Hasselbeck, Adam Amin, Molly McGrath, and I are calling a University of Pittsburgh game in Pittsburgh. There might be 24 people in the stands for that Pitt game that we're going to be calling on Thursday night, but that's because that Steelers-Browns game is going to be a good one right now. The AFC North, you guys are all fighting for a second place. That Ravens, Lamar Jackson is a video game. Yes, it was the Bungles.
Yeah.
Okay? But when he hit that circle button 3 yards away from a guy, just set it up perfectly. He falls, crashes into two other guys. Looks like it's out of a movie. Look like it's out of a video game. I mean, that's something that we haven't seen since back in the day when every athlete was slow on the field. I think growing up we were almost spoiled with the way Michael Vick used to shake people. I mean, I don't want to say average player. Very good players back in the day used to square off against very average players back in the day. Okay, it's the same for every sport. Back at basketball, you look at those highlights, Michael Jordan was playing against Diggs sometimes. Okay, I mean, that is just things that were happening back in the day.
30-year-old Diggs, too. Not even young, handsome, strapping 20-year-old Diggs that could move a little bit without, breaking his foot. Yeah.
That's just the advancement in athletics. Michael Vick used to do that every single week to somebody who would be like, ooh. Then you remember those running backs back in the day. Barry Sanders used to do it to people. I remember Jerome Bettis used to be able to hit a circle button on some folks. We've all seen him in that flag football commercial. That guy ain't moving for nothing. By the way, worst pick in flag football history. That commercial makes no sense. They should have just had it be tackle football. It would have made 100% sense.
Right.
Oh, well, we can't promote tackle football because we're an insurance company. It's probably what they thought. It's like, well, you can't promote Jerome Bettis as a flag football player. He's not a flag football player. He was a bust because he ran people over. Flag football, that doesn't matter. I'm sick of that commercial.
Also, no credit given to how strong the flag is. It's the flag that won't pull
Correct.
off. It doesn't have anything
He
to
didn't
do
make
with how
anybody miss.
powerful he is.
Yeah, and I got all these flag footballers coming after her because,
geez.
no, you can't even stiff arm. You can't flag guard.
Oh, no.
So Jerome Bettis is breaking all the rules of flag football in that commercial that's saying he's the best flag football player of all time. That's the worst marketing I've ever seen. But aside from that, back in the day, whenever you had extreme athletes taking on average athletes in professional sports, which happened on a regular basis, you would see people get shook. You would see it a lot more. Now with the advancements in not only technologies for the way that you train and the faster people get and the better athletes that are in leagues that have happened, people are a lot more cautious to throw themselves into situations where they're just going to get shook. You see a lot of people breaking down a lot more so that they don't end up on those highlight reels. You see basketball players not going for blocks because posterizing used to be the thing. Everybody used to get posterized. Now guys are just like, they're probably going to get that one. I mean, you don't get shook. I've been shook in the middle of Heinz Field by Antonio Brown. Most guys would have never gotten in that position because they would have broke down differently so they don't get embarrassed. To get embarrassed, you have to sell out. Players don't normally sell out anymore because of getting embarrassed, because of chances of missing tackles. Instead, other techniques are taught so you don't get put in those precarious positions. So that's why whenever Lamar Jackson makes a guy fall over, a professional athlete, doesn't matter what team he's on, how bad that team is, how notoriously terrible that team is, if he makes a professional athlete fall on his face in the middle of a field, man, that feels good to see again. That's just something that not a lot of people can do. Lamar Jackson is one of the only humans that could do that. I assume Antonio Brown, whenever he was back in shape, had people doing that. And granted, he kicked the kid's face, a punter's face, and stepped right over top of him. There are those types of situations, but you rarely see guys fall down anymore. It's just not the way things are. With the athleticism levels of athletes these days, it's just not something you see anymore. So the fact that Lamar has made this kid's game look like child's play in the NFL is something to be said. And the same question will be asked. This Baltimore Ravens team, this offensive line is built for the long haul. They have 3 tight ends. That Andrews guy is always open. I have no idea how they don't cover him. That is Lamar Jackson's go-to guy. That touchdown pass, by the way, was right in the bucket. I mean, that was an incredible throw by Lamar. If he gets that game going, everybody's in deep doo-doo. They only threw it 17 times, though. Greg Roman and Lamar are starting to figure each other out. 15 of 17, only 2 incompletions. And he made a professional athlete fall down. That Baltimore Ravens team can do whatever the hell they want against whoever the hell they want, whenever the hell they want. And their defense, Marcus Peters just gets there, takes a pick 6 as well. RG3 gets in the game, throws a pick, but that Heisman formation with him in the backfield, Lamar in the backfield, and Mark Ingram in the backfield. I mean, they have so many weapons. They've changed the way football is. And if Lamar Jackson can stay healthy, this is the only question. Can Lamar Jackson stay healthy? They're unbeatable. And the Browns and the Steelers are just hoping for a wild card spot, and that's why Thursday night's game is such a big deal with both of them coming off of wins.
Lamar Jackson, I'm less worried about him because he seems like he has a knack for not getting hit, and then he's beefed up quite a bit. He's thick. He's not skinny anymore.
I agree. And I talked about this last week, how T.Y. Hilton had this ability, still has this ability to not take the big hit. And T.Y. is much smaller than Lamar Jackson. Florida boys, nonetheless, so kind of same mentality, same mindset, incredible athletes. But T.Y. found this way to not get hit. Marvin Harrison had this ability. There's some guys that just have this knack, this ability, this feel that, you know what, I could probably pick up an extra yard or two, but I'm going to take a massive shot right now. I'm going to go down. Lamar, even though he had a spin move in the middle of the field instead of sliding or something like most quarterbacks, it feels as if he has this natural ability to not take the big shot. He's either learned it through his football years or he just naturally has it. But hey, that only lasts so long. All you need is one guy to catch you. And I hope for the sake of the game, for the sake of the Ravens, that doesn't happen, because the guy that puts sunglasses on the sideline after lighting up another team, making another professional athlete fall, is a guy that I want to see play for a long time. And I can't wait to watch the Lamar Jackson evolution into MVP candidate and into potentially Super Bowl champion someday.
Go ahead.
I think his on the field speed, like his game speed, is much different than what he shows on tape too. Because they were talking about how Kyler Murray ran a faster 40 than he did, but I think teams assume, like, they look at him on tape and it's like, okay, we kind of have an idea how we're going to defend him, and then you get on the field and it's like, oh, okay, this is completely different. He's got another gear.
He looks like in a video, and I don't play video games, but I've watched enough people play video games. And you know when a guy's like good at the video game playing against a guy who's like great at video games? That's what it feels like. It feels like somebody is like this guy's in NFL or whatever it is, and this guy's in old Madden. That's what it feels like Lamar Jackson is whenever he gets outside the pocket, whenever he gets moving. He's making these people who are the best athletes on the planet look silly. And he's got people scared too. Not only has he just got them shook, which is obvious, he's got people scared to be one-on-one. Just exactly how I felt when Antonio Brown and I had 53 and a third wide and it was just me and him. I was so scared. I was like, oh no, it's going to happen. I know it's going to happen. It's going to happen. That's what people have to feel like whenever Lamar Jackson starts running at him. And it's Steelers and Browns, he's going to have to catch up to that.
The thing that scares me is it seems like they figured it out. So, like, the games where they didn't look good against Arizona, Kansas City, and Cleveland, he threw 37, 43, and 34 times. And then the last 3 games, he's thrown 20, 23, and 17.
Greg Roman, and remember, that was back whenever Lamar Jackson said, I hate running. Lamar Jackson said, I hate running back a couple weeks ago. And I think it's because all anybody would say is about how good of a runner he is. All anybody would talk about is exactly what we're talking about, how that spin move that makes people fall over, what an incredible play. I think he was like, yeah, but what about me being quarterback? So I think he's felt jaded because going into the draft, he wasn't picked till pick 32. He told the Ravens, he said, they're going to get all I got, and they're going to get a Super Bowl out of me. I think he had this jaded mindset where he was like, I'm tired of people just thinking I'm an athlete, not a quarterback. So Greg Roman was like, all right, well, let's make him think you're just quarterback. That's how you want to play. Threw the ball. They didn't have much success. And I think Greg Roman or Harbaugh or somebody had to say to him, like, hey, listen, man, I know you hate it, but you have something that nobody else has. If we can run you and just throw you like maybe 20 times, you'll be able to show off that arm and be able to do stuff that nobody else can do. I'm happy that came through. I'm happy Lamar was like, okay, I'll deal with the fact knowing that I'm the most athletic quarterback to come into this league ever, possibly, ever. And now it's my time to shine, and I'm going to take this Ravens team to the top in an AFC North that has looked bad but has gotten hot here in recent weeks. Are the Browns back? Is Baker Mayfield the man that's going to lead the dog pound from the pit of doom to the top of the top? I don't know. They got to win yesterday, though, and everybody's losing their mind. 10:38, we got to get to a break. We got Coach P.J. Fleck on the other side talking about that Minnesota Gopher win. who, by the way, I haven't given out my official college football rankings. Mm-hmm. They're my number 4 team. Can't wait to make everybody mad. They got Iowa, though, this weekend in Kinnick. Tough place to play. How's that neck-on mentality? Never fool. Swimming against the grain. Farmers Alliance. 10:38. We'll be back with the elite PJ Fleck. You're listening to the Pat McAfee Show. Welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show. It is beautiful Monday, November 11th. The 11th day of the 11th month. Happy Veterans Day. Joining us now is a coach of an undefeated college football team. The coach of a team that took on the Penn State Nittany Lions this past weekend in what looked to be negative 75-degree temperatures and put on an absolute show. A coach that came on our show last week and motivated the masses. Ladies and gentlemen, row the boat, the elite coach, PJ Fleck.
Thanks for having us on the show. Appreciate it.
Coach, hell of a victory going in there on Saturday. What a win for the Gophers program. How are you feeling this Monday after probably the biggest win in Minnesota recent history?
Well, it's hard to enjoy it. We're on to Iowa. We were 1-0 in the Penn State season, celebrated that Saturday, and then a little bit of Sunday, and that's it. Then we moved on. So it was a huge game for us. Why? Because it was the next one. I know that sounds cliche, but when you're in a season like ours, that's the most important thing to focus on. You got to give our fans a lot of credit, sellout crowd, storming the field at the end. Gave our players, gave our state, gave our fans a moment in memory that they'll remember their entire life. But now we got to move on. Now we got to find a way to be better this week than we were last week.
Okay, so you said directly after the game to Holly Rowe, I believe, you just reiterated it, the Penn State season. Is each week a brand new season in the eyes of the Minnesota Gophers, and what does that entail? Does that mean an entire new offense, an entire new defense, an entire new game plan, or does it just mean, hey, this is a week-to-week operation here for the Minnesota Gophers?
Well, it's a combination of both. You always have a new game plan for every single team that you face, but we're going to do what we do. We're going to do what we do, hopefully better this week than we did last week. We're us, and we're going to continue to do everything we can to be a better version of us on a week-to-week basis. But we put everything we possibly can. Since January, we've been talking to our players about championships and restoring the tradition, the 7 national championships, the 18 Big Ten championships here at University of Minnesota. And so that's a lot of pressure. And we talk about one-game championship seasons. Every game we played in this year, we have told our team is a championship game, to get them ready for these types of games coming down the stretch, especially with a really good Iowa football team at Kinnick Stadium at 3 o'clock on Saturday. So it's its own entity. It's its own championship game. It's one at a time. We don't treat it, this is not cliche-type talk within our program. It's real, and our players truly buy into that, believe that, and our coaching staff pushes that forward.
3 o'clock Central, 4 o'clock Eastern, Saturday, you travel into Kinnick, Iowa. Now, I will talk to you about them loving the upset at home in November. It's kind of something Iowa has done historically, is like in November, very difficult to play in Kinnick. But I want to talk about your quarterback for a second. Joe Burrow gets talked about. Tua gets talked about. Air Bear gets talked about. A lot of quarterbacks get talked about in college football. But Tanner Morgan put on an absolute show on Saturday with your weapons at wide receiver. Can you tell us more about him?
Well, he's a winner. He's been very successful his entire life. He took his high school from 3 wins and spun it around to 12 wins. He's one of those young men that is just an incredible leader. He's infectious. He's a tremendous, tremendous individual on the field and off the field, and his intangibles are through the roof. You see him walk through the door, you would never think he's a quarterback of a Big Ten institution. He looks just like me, 6 foot nothing, 200 pounds nothing. But he is one of the best game managers that I've been around. He's smart enough to distribute to big-time playmakers, and that's what the real quarterbacks do. They're point guards in basketball. They distribute, get the ball to their playmakers, make everybody else around them better, and lead the football team. And that's what Tanner Morgan does, and he's really good at it.
He is. I mean, I think 13, I think, was the one who was making a lot of big plays. You have weapons out there at wide receiver. I don't think enough people are talking about that Gopher football team. I have you at my number 4. I believe the AP has you at 7. Herb Street had you at 6, I think. Your team is going into uncharted territory right now for the Minnesota Gophers of recent history. Right now, you're going into Iowa, coming off a huge emotional game against Penn State. I know each week is its own season, but how are you going to temper the boys this week? What is the message to the team? Same thing as it is every week, I assume?
Same thing. We went right back to work last night. Had a great practice last night under the lights. We call it Sunday Night Football. Had a wonderful practice. Guys know what to do. We've been preparing for this for a long time. And when you have an opportunity like it, you've got to take advantage of it. Moments and memories don't come around like this very often at times. And so you can never take it for granted. And our players have done that since day one. They have not taken it for granted. It's a very special team. It's very connected. They love each other. They sacrifice for each other. when they're fully committed. And when you have a team that's fully committed, you have a chance. And it doesn't promise us anything, doesn't guarantee us anything, but it gives us a better chance. And if you can keep stacking up those chances every single week, you got a better chance, and that's all you can ask for. It's a special team to coach. They went right back to work last night, and they just got to find a way to change our best.
I talked to Herbie, I think either Saturday or yesterday, I forget the day, but I told him, I said, hey, man, I like the Gophers, not only because PJ allowed us access into his facility last year when we had to train, not only because he came on my show and was an electric factory, not only because of the big win against Penn State, but because it's hard to beat a team that's all in. It feels as if your team is all in, and it's not just your team, by the way. I think it's the entire state of Minnesota. This is the first time where I've seen a coach get signed to a 7-year extension and the entire state be like, yep, this is a good move. Most people are like, no. Then you got little children dressing as you at the game. It seems to be that the entire state of Minnesota has taken on this Necton mentality. How does it feel to be at home in Minnesota and to be at a place that is embracing the hell out of the culture that you've built?
Well, it's powerful because it's going to take all of us. The day I got the job, I said it's going to take the entire state of Minnesota to restore the traditions of old. It's not about the head football coach. It's not just about our community. It's not just about our players. It's not just about our administration. It's not just about our alum. It's going to take every single one of us. And I get to be the messenger, and I think that's a powerful job, and that takes a lot of responsibility. And you have to be able to understand that. Hard part about being the standard is you're the standard, and we have to be very consistent in how we do that. But it's about all of us, and that's what I love about this state. Everybody's all in for the Gophers. Everybody wants the success of the Gophers, and it's going to just take all of us changing our thoughts, perceptions, ideas of possible past to be able to change our future. And I think that's what we've started to do here. We're not where we're going to be. We still have a long way to go and a lot of room to grow. But again, it's a start. And we talked about waking up the sleeping giant, and hopefully we're starting to get him to at least start yawning and wake up a little bit.
Does anything scare you? Anything at all scare PJ Fleck?
Oh, absolutely. High escalators.
Are you scared of heights?
Yeah, I don't do the water tower place in Chicago. There's too many escalators. I do not like that. Nope. I like to be enclosed.
What about when it comes to college football? Like, does it not scare you that just the opinions of a couple old whites in a room decide the entire factor on whether or not Minnesota Gophers will make it into the college football playoff if you guys go undefeated? Does that scare you?
Just like any team, everybody controls what you can control, and that's the pressure. Pressure's earned. Pressure is something that you work your entire life for. And then when you have it, you're ready for it because it's earned, and it's something that means that your life is very significant. Stress is what you can't control. It's the outside world, and we do everything we can to just handle what we can handle, control what we can control. People are going to put numbers on you and labels on you, but we teach our players every day, don't allow somebody to put a number or a label on you. You got to find a way to be the best you possibly can be. And we define success not by numbers, but by doing everything you can to be the best you can be as long as you change your best. And that way you can have no regrets. And no matter what, this team's working their tail ends off. It's been an unbelievable year up to this point, and all the one-game seasons. But we got to find a way to keep changing our best and keep learning from our past to create our future.
When you had the lead at halftime and I knew you were going to go speak to your team again, I knew there was no shot you guys were losing. Every time you speak, PJ, I'm ready to run through a wall, pal.
Well, I appreciate that. And the whole part about the scaring part, we tell our players all the time, if it scares you, that means it's big enough. And we want them to be scared when it comes to your dreams, your hopes, your aspirations, because if they don't scare you, that means they're not big enough. And that's the way we want our people in the state of Minnesota to think. We want them thinking on the big scale. And it's hard to, I get it, it's hard to at times because of past. And the past always gets in the way of the future. But that's where we got to change our thoughts, perceptions, and ideas. So, the challenge to our players every day is scare yourself so you continue to change your best. Make your dreams really big. And I think that's a really good way to live. Scary way to live, but that means you're doing something really right.
Jeez, PJ. Coach Fleck, you're absolutely motivating and inspiring. And the fact that you weren't scared at all when you went and played goalie against the Minnesota hockey team is interesting to me.
That wasn't that too many pads. That was I didn't even feel one of the pucks. Right. The only times I stopped things was actually when I actually got in the way of the puck. I don't think that was a true save. It just hit me. I wasn't good with the rebounds.
Yeah, ice is a whole different animal out there, but you're going to have to deal with that a lot in Minnesota. Kinnick Stadium, Iowa, November. I mean, this has all the makings to be an instant classic. Would love for you guys just to come out, blow them out early so I can get my row the boat in early tweets, and then I can just kind of relax for the rest of the game. Can you make the boys do that for me?
Kinnick Stadium is a very tough place to play. They're a really good football team, obviously already in the top 25, been in the top 25 for a long time. It's one of those developmental programs in terms of they just continue to reload every single year. They have the cultural sustainability. Kirk Ferentz does a really good job. They're a tough football team. They play great sound defense, and offensively they control the ball and they don't beat themselves. I mean, they're very, very talented, really good football team.
All right. Well, good luck, Coach, with that neckton mentality. Never full, always want more. Farmers Alliance, undefeated Gopher. Coach, thank you so much for taking time with us today, Coach Fleck.
Listen, we appreciate it. Row the boat, Sky Mago Gophers. Thanks.
Hey, damn right, Sky, you know, pal. Didn't even get to ask him about the crowd surf there. It was on the tip of my tongue, but we got it hard out. Pressure. Pressure is, what do you say? Stress is coming or when you think about things you can't control.
Yeah.
Pressure is when the moments are big enough.
Pressure's earned.
Man, what a mindset right there. Because handling those situations is something that the coach can help control the narrative. And when you got that guy leading the charge, man, everybody's all in. I'll tell you what, I would run through a wall for that guy, I think. I don't know if 18-year-old me would have. But I think 32-year-old me is in a good spot. 10:55, we'll be back on the other side. It's been a great first hour. We got Mark Schlereth in the second hour. Always good. This is the Pat McAfee Show.
It's the perfect occasion for a mental vacation from the heart of the nation. Not your medication. 2 hours of magic, let's give it a go. Ladies and gents, it's the Pat McAfee Show. It's the Pat McAfee Show. It's the Pat McAfee Show.
Yes, it is Chase Rice. Welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show. I am the man the show's named after. I have no idea where you're listening or watching at, but I thank you for that. It is Monday, November 11th. Happy Veterans Day, and a huge thanks to all the badass superheroes that are walking amongst us who signed the line stating that they know what could potentially happen, what could potentially be their future, and still say, hey, I'm Team America. I'm going to go fight. Whether you're against the war or for the war, you have to be for the warrior because they're selfless and badass, and we're very thankful for a vet we have in the office every single day. He's manning the phones right now. He was a Marine, a devil dog, Todd McComas. Todd, thanks, bud.
Thank you, guys.
Todd, thanks for your service, man.
Hey, I appreciate you guys appreciating my service.
Thanks, Todd.
Hey, Todd, I want to let you know we had an appreciation circle earlier today about our appreciation for what you did for our country. And although you were the host of Heartland Radio 2.0 and one of the best detectives in Indiana State Police history, and somehow getting more handsome as you get older, you being a Marine, we are very, very thankful for. I'd like you to know that.
Hey, I appreciate you guys. By the way, everybody in this room would have been kick-ass Marines.
Oh, thanks, Todd.
There's
Every
no way
single one.
Zito would have been a good
Good point. We'll leave Zito out. Everybody else.
I would have
yeah.
been an amazing chef.
Yeah, but Zito, that's not what the Marines are. The Marines
There's
are...
someone cooks.
I assume at some point somebody does cook. Yes, it's like a firehouse. Somebody does cook. But the Marines are like, those are the
baddest.
women and men who sign up basically. And Todd, I might be speaking out of turn here, but the most they're ready right now. The Marines are built to just be dropped in the middle of the worst conditions imaginable and just do whatever the hell they're told to do. Is that accurate?
Absolutely. They pride themselves on the fact that every Marine's a rifleman. So no matter what your job is, you're trained well enough that you can drop whatever you're doing, pick up a rifle, and fight as well as anybody else. Maybe we put Zito on the Merchant Marines. You know?
Oh,
that's very nice of you.
Yeah,
so merch.
He just cooks chow on a ship where they like FedEx on the water. You know?
Zito, not a bad gig, by the way. We would appreciate your service.
What
if you
can Brown do for you?
That's UPS, but
Oh, yikes.
So many different ways to go for that.
Yep.
Thanks to all the vets, though, including you, Todd. We appreciate the hell out of you. Also, Mark Snare, who drives our truck on a daily basis. He's been in every single branch of the military, basically, for 20 years now. He's driving our truck around the country. Very thankful for him. And to all the vets around. Not thankful for Brian Hoyer yesterday. Not thankful for Brian Hoyer. Colts lost to the Dolphins in a heartbreaker. In the first hour, I broke down everything about Vinatieri missing a very large kick. Very large kick. That extra point is huge. After missing a game winner last week with the laces directly at him in a tough spot, I explained what the field goal operation was last week, explaining that the long snapper is in charge of lace placement. That's what he gets judged off of. Although your life has told you that is 100% the holder and the kicker's issue, now it's a full-blown operation. There's people making millions of dollars to do so. This week, snap was great. Hold was great. Vinny just missed it in a massive moment, which isn't normal for Vinny. Obviously, going down the field later, Hoyer could have made a play for the team. Could have just had to kick a field goal there to tie it up, send it to overtime, which I would assume the Colts would win eventually. But instead, they lost, and now Vinatieri has a real-life situation happening in front of his eyes, and I'll be excited to see how it all plays out. I talked to him yesterday. We talked about the Steelers getting a big win over the Los Angeles Rams. Minkah Fitzpatrick, who was once a Dolphin, traded out of there. Now he's got to be in the lead for defensive MVP.
Sure.
This guy's got 7 touchdowns. It feels like every single week he's wrecking the game. That D-line is also incredible. When you have a good D-line, normally the secondary can pay off. It's all about Pittsburgh and that defense right now. You can get that shirt, which is incredibly made and designed at store.patmcafeeshow.com. 20% off right now with promo code VETS. I believe. So a lot of good things happening for Pittsburgh. Not a lot of great things for the Rams. A lot of good things happening for the Browns. Mm-hmm. Not a lot of good things happening for the Bills. Mm-hmm. By the way, I think this Bills thing, everybody wondered about that team, Bills Mafia. Greatest fan base in football, Bills Mafia says. I think they're up there. I think they're either one or two. I mean, the Dog Pound, by the way, is one that should be appreciated and respected as well. Just like the Bills Mafia, the Dog Pound has stuck around through a lot of years of stink. A lot of years of bleh. A lot of years of this team sucks. A lot of years of that. Now they're getting paid off. Josh Allen becoming a good football player. McDermott and that defense have been turning things around. We talked to Zoe last week. Seemed like an incredible leader. Said everybody's on the same page with McDermott. That Bills team was getting hot. They were getting going. Then they run into a buzzsaw, the Cleveland Browns. Missed field goal, a couple of them. Kind of cost them that game by Hauschka. Not a good day for the brand yesterday, but the Browns are now on the winning side of things. Beckham was getting fed the ball early. Beckham with a couple pass interferences early, which helped the team, even though the Browns could not punch it in from 1st and goal 12 straight times, it felt like. They still get to win against the Buffalo Bills. If you're Bills Mafia, you got to be heartbroken because that's a game that makes you think about the old days of the Bills before they were good this year. Oh, no, the Bills are losing games they shouldn't lose. Not this again. Or is it just a little bit of a blip? A little bit of a, oh, no, for the Bills. Maybe they get it back on track. I don't know. Still got the Patriots in that division. Dolphins are getting very hot, obviously.
Winning streak.
Winning streak for Ryan Fitzpatrick. He's going to get benched. Something's going to happen. There's no way the Dolphins ownership is going to respect the fact that Fitzpatrick's going to go out there and have them be middle of the road again and get some, not have a first pick of the draft, which is what they're in for. Although they have 45 picks, I think job well done for the yard sale that they had. But it feels like the Browns can really get going now. But it doesn't matter because they're in the Ravens division. The Baltimore Ravens in that Lamar Jackson offense, Dan Orlovsky, who doesn't just say things to say things.
No, never.
I think if we know anything about Dan Orlovsky, it's Dan Orlovsky when he says things, there's a lot of thought behind it. He thinks it through. He has stats to say it. He says that Baltimore Ravens offense is indefensible, which I've never seen that word used to describe an offense. Normally it's like when people say things that are like, you know, terrible.
Despicable.
You're like, oh, that is indefensible right there. Like what that guy said and did, there's no defense for that. So I respect the fact that he's using it in this particular fashion, and I think he would know more than I do. But it does feel like that Ravens offense is something that nobody's seen before. Yes, you've seen the Wildcat before. Yes, you've seen the mobile quarterback before. But it feels like the mobile quarterback has always been surrounded by a deep threat, which I guess Hollywood Brown is, but more so the design of plays with an air raid style where you'll open the field up, get everybody wide open so he has a chance to move, or there'll be wide open passes. You see it in college a lot. You're starting to see it in the NFL more, but this team's a complete opposite. They compact everybody in. They got tight ends in there, 3 of them in some sets. They're bringing everybody into the fray, and they're utilizing that incredible offensive line and Lamar Jackson's ability to make everybody miss, and they're becoming a weapon that some people are saying is indefensible.
They keep running that Heisman package with Lamar Jackson and RG triple sticks running the option. Guess what? The whole NFL, look out. RG3 gets his sea legs under him again. Everyone's in trouble.
I mean, RG3 did go in and immediately throw an interception to the Cincinnati Bengals, but I think RG3 has looked better for the Ravens in preseason than he ever did for, aside from that first year with the Redskins. But they're back in it. The Ravens are controlling that division, potentially running through the AFC now that the Chiefs have lost to the Titans. The Chiefs have been on a slide here. The Chiefs have been on quite a slide with all those weapons. Patrick Mahomes threw for 446 yards. Now, normally I over-exaggerate things because it is Overreaction Monday. That's an actual stat.
Yeah.
He threw for 446 yards yesterday, 3 touchdowns, and they lost. I'm not going to say anything bad about that Chiefs defense either.
Don't you dare.
No.
I'm not saying a single thing bad about it. Ryan Clark did. And Tyrann Mathieu basically told him, bet.
It's because they're LSU boys.
They're LSU boys, and Tyrann Mathieu is one of the greatest players to ever step on a football field. I mean, historically. But he's on a defense right now. That facts are facts. I'm not saying it. I'm not saying anything else other than the fact that their quarterback threw for 446 yards and 3 touchdowns, and they still lost the game. Now, granted, did they have a chance to tie it up and put it away with a field goal, and the long snapper snapped the ball before Colquitt was even ready? Yes. By the way, I've been on teams where the long snapper gets a quick trigger. gets a short fuse. And as soon as he sees any movement back there, he's getting so jacked up, so excited, he just can't wait to get the ball out of his hands. Doesn't happen with younger snappers. Normally it's older snappers because they've been through so much that they get something in their head where they just can't wait to get the ball out of there. And it felt like that's what happened on the first one where Colquitt caught the ball and threw it away, got an intentional grounding. Titans get the ball, go down and score. Winchester is the long snapper there. It's been a great long snapper for a long time, but sometimes little things like that get in between the ears and get stuck. That's why on the Butker field goal to tie the game at the end, the guy that was rushing it, who blocked it, I don't remember his name, I should, had a key. And the key was as soon as Colquitt's head turned, Winchester couldn't wait to get that ball out of his hands. It was just something that happens. I don't know what it is. Sometimes golfers get the yips. Sometimes basketball shooters can't do it. Sometimes long snappers get something in their head where as soon as they see movement back there, the ball just has to come out. Whether they're anxious, excited, whatever you want to call it, that becomes something. And that guy who got the block got a read. As soon as Colquitt turned his head, that guy was jumping. The ball was moving simultaneously. That's a good read, good key by that guy or the special teams coordinator for the Titans. Great block. Not great for the brand, obviously. Butker buries both of those kicks, I think, and it's a whole different ball game. But instead, we got to talk about the Chiefs losing a lot of games now with a lot of talent when their quarterback's doing well and the defense seems to be giving up points. I'm not going to say they're bad. I'm not going to say they're bad because I assume they have a lot of really good players. But whenever those really good players are getting on the field together, some bad things are happening right now for the Chiefs.
I'm not going to say they're bad, but
don't say it.
I'm looking at a website.
Tyrann Mathieu is a guy we would like to like our show.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just looking at a website. I'm looking at a website here. And yesterday, Derrick Henry had 190 yards and 2 touchdowns. And says here the Kansas City Chiefs are 31st in the league.
Who's saying that?
Just this website, 31st in the league in rush defense.
Who said it?
Easy.
Just some website with stats.
Tyrann Mathieu is a guy that I would like to have on the show sometime, and I'd like him to know that was not us. That was pro.
It was just no. It was just NFL stats.
Derrick Henry.
I don't want to throw them under the bus either.
Doesn't it feel like Derrick Henry, though? Every once in a while.
Yeah.
We'll have like 190, 180 yards. And then the rest of the season, we don't know what happens.
27.
Yeah, what happens? A guy that big, that fast, that athletic, you would assume that they would just feed that guy on a regular basis. Who cares who's at quarterback? Let's get this Derrick Henry guy going. And that hasn't really happened on a regular basis.
He's kind of like the Cowboys. He's really good against bad defenses, and then when they play against a good defense, not so good.
Speaking of, congratulations to the Dallas Cowboys. They gave birth last night to prime-time Kirk Cousins. Congrats. Hey. You had a baby, Cowboys. You had a baby. Jerry Jones said that Coach Zimmer and the boys had a great coaching plan. Going to take Zeke out. Okay, that's a shot at 2 people if you read that deep. He's taking a shot at Dak Prescott, and he's taking a shot at Jason Garrett. Basically saying that they got out-coached, and the only way they would have succeeded is if Zeke would have succeeded. Instead, Dak Prescott, I thought, had a hell of a game.
Yeah, he did. Played incredible.
Incredible. Lights out. Amari Cooper was making catches that not a lot of humans in the history of the game could make. Nate Burleson on Good Morning Football says toe drag swag. Amari Cooper was the picture of that last night. Now, granted, Chris Collinsworth at one point said that a pass was 3 yards
outside the boundary.
Outside the boundary. That's 9 feet. I'm not sure Amari Cooper. I mean, maybe 7, 8 feet.
I mean, that wingspan.
Go gadget.
9 feet is a long time. But anyways, Dak Prescott, I thought, played good last night. Thought he played great last night. Amari Cooper played well, played good last night. I thought the Cowboys played relatively good last night. But not as good as Kirk Cousins in primetime football. Kirk Cousins, when he gets going without his biggest weapon, Adam Thielen. Stephon Diggs, stud. Let's not undersell that. Dalvin Cook, unbelievable.
Yes.
That offensive line playing very well. What a weight to get off your shoulders if you're Kirk Cousins, by the way. That guy stunk in prime time.
He did.
Hasselbeck read off a bunch of stats that was like, well, has he really, or has his team just not shown up for him? And Hasselbeck was 100% right.
Yeah.
I guess the last time they lost in prime time, he had like 3 touchdowns, no picks, threw for like 300-some yards, and they lost. Everybody's like, well, Kirk Cousins can't get a win. It's like, well, maybe it's not him. Maybe it's the team. Last night, the team had an incredible evening. Dalvin Cook is next level. And he looks like he's running straight up and down, too. It feels like Sproles. He runs like Sproles. Now, granted, he's not as short as Sproles, obviously. He's bigger than Sproles, but he runs straight up and down. And I think it's hard. Like, you know how they say some cars just look fast? Like, that was a commercial for a while. Like, oh, it's not as fast. It just looks fast. Dalvin Cook does not look fast. But I think he is a quick individual. And the thing that he can do is he can also run a mother over. Dalvin Cook is a weapon. And I know coming out of Florida State, right?
Yep.
Coming out of Florida State, everybody's like, this guy's good. And I think it took until this year for the national media, including myself, to really appreciate him, because those first couple of weeks he was next level. And now watching him on primetime dominate, while Kirk Cousins still throws the ball well to Stephon Diggs, and Kyle Rudolph made a couple of the best plays I've ever seen. I mean, that Vikings team has all the makings to have a hell of a run. But they're in the same division as the Packers. It's like all these teams that are kind of doing things, there's always a but on the other side of it. Packers, Aaron Rodgers did not play great yesterday. Still got to win. That's when you know people are in trouble. Made a lot of costly mental errors, too. Zaire Smith jumps off sides in the red zone at the end of the game. Then another one jumped off sides in the red zone in the goal line area to end the game. Up 8. Aaron Rodgers did not have his best game. They relied on Aaron Jones again. And this Aaron Jones character, yes, sir, no, sir, won't wave at people anymore because he could get fined and could get a penalty. He has become an absolute monster for them. Devontae Adams is getting back into the swing of things. Wait for Aaron Rodgers to have a good game with Devontae Adams and Aaron Jones balling and that defense going. That Packers team is going to be very tough to stop. If they can't lose whenever Aaron Rodgers struggles, that is a oh no for the rest of the NFC North.
Yeah, it was, I mean, kind of the same thing as every other week. It's nice that he doesn't have to do everything now. No one, he's not going to win it, and no one talks about Aaron Jones being in the MVP discussion, but he leads the NFL in touchdowns right now. He's incredible. I mean, out of the backfield, running. And Rodgers, to his credit, when he absolutely had to make big throws and move the ball downfield, he did.
But that's what's going to happen with Aaron Rodgers, especially at the end of the season. I mean, we saw it against the Bears last year, halftime.
Right.
That's like the picture of Aaron Rodgers, by the way. Goes in at halftime, bad injury. Carted off, I believe. Starts at halftime, he starts kind of moving it around. I think the trainer says, like, we're down so much, you're not going back in. He's like, I think I could do something here. I think I could do something. Comes back out like Jesus coming out of the cave, saves the Packers against the Bears. Boom, boom, boom. Gets the big win after being like 20 points down or something on opening night. Bear down. All the way down.
No.
Then something happened last season. I don't know what it was. He and McCarthy weren't seeing eye to eye, blah, blah, blah. Now we got LaFleur, and Aaron and he seem to be on the same page. He seems happy. He seems refreshed, and they're winning games without his best effort. Packers are going to be trouble, which stinks for the Vikings, because the Vikings had the old kumbaya, the public meltdown, the fining, this, that, turn their entire team around. Is it too little, too late, or will they be a wild card in the NFC that looks like it's going to be a shootout coming down the stretch?
There's still only one game back in the division, and them and the Packers play again, so it's possible. But the thing with the Packers, for them to succeed, they're undefeated when they create a turnover this year. So the same thing yesterday. They had 2 turnovers. They got pressure on Kyle Allen, who actually looked pretty good.
I'm all in on Kyle Allen.
Yeah, he played very well yesterday.
Good.
But if they actually kind of pin their ears back a little bit on defense, they are very tough to beat.
All right, let's get to a break here. And then we have the incomparable, the hysterical, the insightful former soap opera actor, former All-Pro, Super Bowl champion, entrepreneur, handsome Mark Schlereth on the other side of the break. But first, hiring the right person takes time that you often don't have. Urgency can be your enemy when it comes to finding candidates that are truly meant for your business. That's why LinkedIn is the best place to post your job. LinkedIn Jobs screens candidates with the hard and soft skills you're looking for so you can hire the right person fast. Ty, what did you say?
What are those soft skills you're talking about?
Great question, Ty. I saw you saying it with your eyes before you said it with your mouth. Those are things like collaboration, creativity, adaptability. LinkedIn looks beyond the work skills and beyond the resume and puts your job post in front of qualified candidates who match your business requirements perfectly. That's how LinkedIn makes sure your job post is seen by the people you want to hire. People with the squills.
Those are good, too.
These people got squills, qualifications, and other interests that will help your business grow. It's no wonder a person is hired every 8 seconds with LinkedIn, and why companies rated LinkedIn Jobs the #1 hiring platform for delivering quality hires. Find the right person for your business today with LinkedIn Jobs. You can pay what you want and get the first $50 off. Just visit linkedin.com/Pat. Again, that's linkedin.com/Pat to get $50 off your first job post. Terms and conditions obviously apply. Build your business a smart way with LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn.com/Pat. We'll be back with Mark Schlereth on the other side after an incredible NFL weekend. Welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show. It is 11:25 here on this beautiful Monday, November 11th, Eastern Standard Time. Happy Veterans Day. Joining us now is a man who's accomplished everything you could possibly accomplish on the football field. He dove into the entrepreneurial world with some chili. I've had it. It's fantastic. I think you should too. Ladies and gentlemen, soap opera star, the handsome, the incomparable Mark Schlereth. Mark, what's going on?
How are you, my friend?
I'm great. I'm not as good as you. If I looked in the mirror and saw your face every day, I'd be a lot better. How are you doing?
You know what? I'm doing great. You know, the key to that is every time I look in the mirror, regardless of how old I get, I still see 23. So, you know, I mean, you just got to fool yourself into that. You just got to believe that, and you got to go with that. And as long as you've got that attitude, man, things are going to be good.
Hey, delusion's a beautiful thing. Now, let's move forward. Yesterday was a massive NFL weekend. What stuck out to you most on that beautiful games of yesterday?
Well, you know, I think one thing, Pat, that's really interesting is I had a chance to call a Baltimore game a couple of weeks ago, and, you know, John Harbaugh is just an interesting cat, right? He's a guy that talks about the fact that we're going through a situation here in Baltimore. We're calling it Revolution Baltimore. And he's like, you know, it's one of those, we made a decision to go with Lamar Jackson. We made a decision to go kind of anti-NFL, to kind of rock the boat, if you will. And we sit there and say, we're going to stand behind this. We're going to turn the NFL on its head. We're going to have a revolution. He told me, hey, in 15 years, there hasn't been a new passing concept in the National Football League in 15 years. And so we're creating a new system. We're creating something that nobody's seen before. We're creating this kind of quote-unquote revolution. And, yeah, our quarterback may take a couple of hits a game, but is it really that much more than what a guy takes in the pocket? We don't think it is. So we're going with this system, and consequences be damned. And I'll tell you what, you look at what they're doing right now, they're one of one that can run this system. It's completely unique. And in a day and age in the league where you don't practice in pads, where you don't work on anything, where everything's a walkthrough, how do you prepare to play against an offense that nobody else runs, that there's no carryover, that is completely unique? And look at what they did. I know Cincinnati's not a very good football team,
Amen.
but look at what they've done the last couple of weeks to New England, to the Bengals. It's just amazing what they're doing right now in Baltimore, and it's all because one coach was forward-thinking enough to say, hey, let's put a plan together. Let's take a unique talent, a unique skill set, and let's just completely turn the league on its head. And I tell you what, it's just been amazing to watch. I didn't think it would work. I mean, I'll be the first to jump on that, you know, sword and say, man, I didn't believe that was going to work, but it has. And it's been tremendous to watch.
Very noble of you. A little accountability from the stink to say, hey, I didn't think it was going to work. I think a lot of people didn't think it was going to work because a lot of people said, oh, you're going to have a running back at quarterback. We've seen this before with Wildcat. We've seen this before. But the NFL comes in cycles almost. It's almost like the air raid, the passing game, the rules change. Fantasy football came to open everything up and get that pocket passer. Now with Lamar showcasing the fact that, hey, this team and this game can be run in a completely different fashion. Do you think other teams are going to try to follow suit, or is this strictly because Lamar Jackson is an anomaly one of one in Baltimore?
Well, he is one of one, but I think it opens up your eyes to other possibilities. I mean, I think that's some of what's going on with the Arizona Cardinals right there and Kyler Murray. There's a lot of teams that just would say basically Kyler Murray is off our list. He's 5'9" and 5'8" or whatever he is, right? He's just not one of those guys that we believe in. But I think it's opened up kind of the eyes to a different way to do things. I think one of the things that's really interesting about the league right now is it is cyclical, like you talked about. And you watch kind of the way teams are winning right now. Look at the game last night between the Dallas Cowboys and the Minnesota Vikings. Like, one of the things that's really interesting to me is when you know how to control the line of scrimmage, you can dictate in those situations. You can run the ball even when everybody and their brother's uncle knows you're going to run the ball. You can have a lot of success. You can dominate a line of scrimmage, and you can win regardless of who your quarterback is, regardless of who your receivers are. Like, that's something that's coming around right now. And, you know, a couple of weeks ago, I did the Baltimore-Seattle game, and it was really interesting going into a game the following week. The teams, I did a San Francisco-Carolina game, and the teams that ran traditional, like when I came in the league, the traditional offensive formation was essentially 21 personnel, or what we would call base back then. And that was a fullback, a tailback, and and one tight end. And that was everybody's base. And now base is really one back, one tight end, three wide receivers, which most people base out of. That's what they do now, which we call 11 personnel, or three wides, whatever you want to call it, right? So that's kind of the traditional kind of how things have morphed. Well, the three teams at the time that were the best three teams in the league as far as or in base formation, two backs most, were the New England Patriots at the time. They were 8-0. Was the San Francisco 49ers at the time. They were 7-0. It was the Minnesota Vikings at 5-2. Those are the teams that played more two-back than any other teams in the league. And it's funny how it kind of morphs back. It becomes, like you said earlier, a little bit cyclical in the way you operate as an offense. And if you can control the line of scrimmage, man, you can win a hell of a lot of football games.
Yeah, smash mouth football is coming back in full effect. As a meathead offensive lineman, you got to love that. I have a question, though. When it comes to your offensive line and you're relying on these big dogs to win your games, what happens when they start having bad games? Like, for instance, the Indianapolis Colts last week in the Pittsburgh Steelers game, that offensive line got punched in the mouth by Cam Hayward and that Steelers defense. And then yesterday, they didn't just dominate the line of scrimmage and just run the ball all over the Dolphins. What can happen to an offensive line that maybe a switch can be flipped or something like that? How do offensive linemen have bad games? Is it the same as skill players where you're just mentally out of it? Or is it one of those things where, hey, sometimes somebody just has your number?
Yeah, sometimes it's just a particular player that you line up against. You just don't match up well against that guy's skill set. What you do as a player versus what that guy does, it just doesn't match well. I think sometimes a lot of it has to do with coaching, how you put a guy in a position to be successful. And oftentimes what you end up doing is you end up putting guys in positions that essentially accentuate the defensive skills and minimize what you're good at. And so you really have to understand who you are, what your group is up front. And if they want to stack you up and essentially say, hey, man, we're just going to put everybody on the line of scrimmage and, we're going to dare you to beat us throwing the ball, there have got to be some numbers. You still have to understand how to run against those and how to get matchups and how to create, half a field read type of things. But you still have to be able to throw the football out of those things. You have to have the quarterback to take advantage of those situations, beat the one-on-one coverage, and do those things. So a lot of it to me, when offensive lines struggle, I can usually look back at some of the play calls, some of the coaching, and say, you haven't put your guys in a real position to have success. So, and you got to understand, Pat, that everybody that plays in the NFL is an exceptionally gifted athlete. I mean, I watch some of the stuff you do, making shots and kicking 60-yard field goals, and some of the stuff you do, unbelievable athletic accomplishments in what you are. And so everybody's incredibly gifted as an athlete. But there is no one group that's more overmatched from an athletic standpoint than the offensive line. Look at the defensive linemen in this league. They're 6'6", 255 pounds, and they run 4.4 640s. They're ridiculous. And so guys up front are completely overmatched. So it takes great coaching, great scheme, and you've got to put your guys in positions to be able to be multiple, be able to show run and to throw it out of that, to show pass and to run it out of that. Those things are important, and that comes down to coaching and putting your guys in positions to win.
Okay, speaking of coaching and putting your team in a position to win, the Kansas City Chiefs were in the top 10 last week, even after losing some games. They get Pat Mahomes back after dislocating his kneecap. Thanks for the compliment, by the way. I do agree I am a freak athlete. Pat Mahomes comes back. He throws for 446 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, then a botched field goal attempt, and then a blocked field goal attempt. All of a sudden signifies the Tennessee Titans get a win against the Chiefs. Are the Chiefs dead, Schlereth? Are the Chiefs dead right now?
No, I mean, look, it is so funny when you watch the Chiefs, the amount of athleticism and talent and speed they have on the offensive side of the ball. It's like it's not even fair. It's like they just keep plucking guys out, and you're like, how can every guy be faster than the next guy on their offense? Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. You saw Tyreek Hill chase down the running back Williams. I mean, on a 91-yard run, and he beat him by 5 yards. I mean, it was unbelievable. But every guy seems to have that amount of athleticism and that amount of speed. Obviously, defensively, they just haven't been very good. And they've gotten punched in the mouth. 188 yards from Henry yesterday, rushing the football. So that's been a big issue for them. But they're going to be in games because offensively they're so dynamic. They are so fast. They're so athletically gifted. So they'll be in a lot of games, but they certainly have some issues on the defensive side of the ball. There's no question about that.
I'm not going to say that was Mark Schlereth that said that. If Tyrann Mathieu listens to the show, which I've been told he does, he's not going to be happy with what you just said. But, hey, you're just saying stats and facts. That's on you. Here's another stat or fact that people probably didn't know. Last time I got a chance to talk with you, you were doing some consulting around the NFL. You did some for the New Orleans Saints, who looked damn good. Even whenever Drew Brees was out, Teddy Bridgewater, they were able to run the ball. The offensive line did very well. Yesterday, they took a shellacking to a terrible football team in the Atlanta Falcons. Should we look into that more so than that was just a Super Bowl for the Falcons, or are the Saints in potential trouble here?
No, I think that's one of those situations where you just kind of chalk that up to any given Sunday and not prepared to play against a team that, you know, is 1-7 going into that game and hasn't played well. And obviously that was Atlanta's Super Bowl, and you didn't answer the bell very well. And so I think those things happen, and sometimes those are the best things that can happen to you as a football team because they can wake you up. They can shake you up a little bit, and you know, you can come to the realization that, hey, man, if we're not prepared, if we don't show up every Sunday, if we don't, if we don't pay attention, we're going to get our butts whipped. I mean, that's life in the NFL. I mean, every guy's getting paid. You know, they pay the other guys too, and they're all professionals. And from a talent standpoint, you know, every team is really talented. So, they still have Matt Ryan, they still have Julio Jones, they still have Calvin Ridley, they still have, they still have players, Freeman, that can flat out play. So, I just think that's one of those things you chalk up to, hey, man, we were ill-prepared to play. That's on us as a football team. We didn't get beat. We beat ourselves type of thing. And so, I wouldn't read too much into the New Orleans Saints. They're a damn good football team.
I think a lot of people don't understand that due to the fact that video games kind of make everybody feel as if NFL players are just these perfect humans who don't have emotions or feelings. The thought of needing a wake-up call is something that does happen at every single level. I think even Olympians have this thing happen. So I think that's good for the Saints, especially since they were consulted by the Mark Schlereth in the offseason. Happy they're doing well. Last thing before I let you go, I can't thank you enough for joining us. I enjoy every time your mouth opens. That's why I'm going to take whatever you say next to the bank. San Francisco tonight is -6.5 at home against the Seattle Seahawks. Who should I bet on, and what are we going to learn this evening?
Lord have mercy. I'm
betting everything I have, Mark. No, everything I have is riding on whatever you say in these next couple sentences. So we're going to find out how much you like me or not here with your answer.
All right. This is a tough one. I'm taking the Niners because I think the Niners they're built the right way. I think that I don't think there's anybody from a play calling standpoint that is better at setting plays up than Kyle Shanahan right now. And it's funny, I was talking to one of the players for the Niners just a couple weeks ago and said, we have these Friday meetings, and you've been a part of those meetings, but these Friday installation meetings. And he goes, we go over the game plan on Friday. And Kyle will put a play up and say, hey, man, this play isn't worth crap. This is a garbage play. This play is going to net us 2 yards. That's it. That's all we're getting with this play. But let me tell you why we're going to run this play 5 times. Because we're going to get 10 yards on those 5 plays, but it's going to set up 4 explosives. And you're going to get a deep seam pass down. You're going to get a tight end's going to get a seam that's going to be 22 yards. Your wide receiver's going to get a sluggo that's going to be a 40-yard play. This guy's going to get and they'll go through exactly why it's going to work and how they play defense and what coverage they're going to match to that. And he goes, every time, he's like, it's like he can read the crystal ball. And he goes, it constantly works. And he says, this is a bad play, but this is why we're running it. And so you get complete and total buy-in with the Niners, especially offensively. You get a buy-in from the standpoint of, here's what we're doing. This is why we're doing it. This is how we're going to do it. And this is why you're going to have success doing it. And it is just one of those things that everybody buys in. They're having a lot of fun playing football right now. I think they're an outstanding football team.
All right, you said it. I just brought out the hammer that's been cold. San Fran -6.5 tonight on Monday Night Football. We're going to learn a lot about them. When you learn the why of things, it's easier to buy in as opposed to just what. I think Shanahan doesn't get enough credit. I believe this Niners team is incredible on the defensive side of the ball and also on the offense if they can get going. Playing against a team that is notoriously good, we're going to learn a lot about the Niners. And finally, finally we could say, hey, they played somebody too, so the San Francisco 49ers fans don't crush us for always saying, well, they haven't really played anybody. They're going to play somebody. I can't wait to watch them. Mr. Schlereth, I can't thank you enough for joining us. I love your brain. You're the absolute best. Follow him on the internet. What game you calling next? Do you know?
I've got Atlanta at Carolina next weekend.
Hey, Kyle Allen, man. I don't know how the hell he's playing football at the level that he's playing it, but that Christian McCaffrey character and that defense, they really seem to get things going. And Olsen made like 3 primetime catches yesterday. That should be a fun game for you.
Absolutely. Olsen is old, and he's still really good. I like old, good things.
Well, you're just that, an old good thing, ladies and gentlemen. Mark Schler. Thank you, Mark.
You got it. Be well, Pat.
You too, man. He's the best.
Can't beat him.
I love him. If you weren't watching along at home, all we put up was videos from his social media.
Yeah, they're so good.
Him lifting. He told us a story on the podcast about how he walked into a gym and there was a bunch of young kids doing like 315 or something on the bench. It was their max out. He didn't even warm up, and he said, you boys mind if I get in here? And he's like, first one he's like struggling with, and he just pumps out 8 of them, racks it, and walks out of the gym. Just a classic meathead who knows the game. Excited to chat with him. He said Niners. I like the Niners tonight as well, mostly because the Seattle Seahawks defense is not great. Their offense is what's been leading them. So you put the Niners defense that's been suffocating in an offense that's efficient, especially with the why things are happening with Shanahan's brain. I think this is a lock tonight, but we're going to learn a lot about both teams. Don't count out Russell Wilson on Monday Night Football, though. There's a reason he gets paid $140 million while laying in bed with Sierra. 11:42, we'll be back on the other side with some phone calls. I've been told the phone lines work. Yep, thumbs up. Perfect. We'll get some phone calls, and we'll wrap up this beautiful Overreaction Monday. You're listening to the Pat McAfee Show. Welcome back to the Pat. I just did a wireless mic flip. You didn't get to see it if you're listening on radio. If you're listening on radio, we appreciate you. It's 11:47 here on this November 11th. I feel like we've covered everything we've had to cover. The Dallas Cowboys gave birth to a primetime Kirk Cousins last night. Congrats to them on the new baby boy. Dallas Cowboys, are they dead? We're going to find out. They're on national television in the next 7 weeks. I think Dak Prescott played very good, too. So it's a shame that they lost because I think him and the offensive side really did it. And defense seemed to do well, too. Great teams win those close games. Are the Vikings a great team? It looks like they potentially are. And Kirk Cousins gets a weight off his shoulders of winning in prime time on the grandest stage of them all, Sunday Night Football against the Dallas Cowboys and Jerry World.
Did you see the report or column or whatever from Rappaport that looks like Dak's heading towards a franchise tag?
Still a lot of money. Probably won't be happy about it. When I got franchise tagged, I couldn't sign that thing quicker. They're going to pay me how much? I'm getting how much guaranteed? $2 million to do what? Kick a ball? Where do I sign? Nowadays, guys are like, no, I'm not going to sign it. I get it because of the longevity of everything, but a guaranteed contract, no matter what, is a beautiful thing. For me, I even got screwed out because they don't involve bonuses. It's the top 5 average salaries of your position group. Without bonuses, though. And in the kicking world, a lot of bonuses happen. So it was just top 5 salaries of the kickers and punters out there. It was not great, but it was damn good for me. We went to Canada to celebrate. How's it going? Let's go to Niagara Falls and buy this place. Now it's time for an incredible segment of radio called Fun Facts. No, Zito's Fun Facts. Zito, please.
Thank you, Pat.
No problem.
First one we have today is, all porcupines float in water. Who knew?
I did not. I did not know that porcupines float in water. What is the next one, Zito?
Next one is, kids tend to grow faster in the spring.
Like flowers.
Huh.
And I put a picture of Jason Kidd. Third one of the day. Last one for you, Pat.
Yep.
Broccoli is the only vegetable that is also a flower. Back to you, Pat.
Oh, thank you, Zito. That was incredible. I learned a lot right there. I was
Anytime.
born May 2nd, which is the spring.
Yeah.
I wish maybe I would have been born January, February to get that little boost through the spring, you know?
yeah.
Maybe have me a little bit late. Maybe Dad and Mom do a little something 4 months earlier in my grandma's living room.
Might be playing quarterback for the Colts right now.
Got to be better than Warrior. Garrett from Foxborough. What's up, Garrett?
Hello, Pat. I have a question that I think you might be able to answer or provide some insight on the Patriots kicking situation.
Love it.
So I don't think it comes down to the kickers. I think it comes down to their rookie punter and holder, I believe his name is Jake Bentley. Now, don't get me wrong. He launches bombs of punts.
Yep.
I will completely give him that. But when he admitted coming out of the draft that he has never held in his life. He has never held in high school, never held in college. Steven Gostkowski missed 1 field goal while he was holding for him, and the ball was held at a 45-degree angle. I believe because of that, Gostkowski had to overcompensate, hurt his hip. Mike Nugent, he missed 2 field goals that led to him being cut in the Browns game. One of them, it was spun, and he was given the laces.
Oh.
I think now that with his third kicker, Bentley was told, listen, you got to figure this out because Ryan Allen is still sitting on the sideline, the punter that they cut, who was damn near almost the Super Bowl MVP, but now he's signed with the Falcons. Do you think there's any insight into that of maybe it's not so much kicking woes, it's a rookie holder woe?
Garrett, incredibly deep insight there. I would assume Belichick, who knows everything about football, would be digging into that as well. That is something that can happen. You saw it with Big Wish out in San Francisco with Robbie Gould. Robbie Gould didn't have confidence in his holder, which is a new holder. They seem to be back on the right page of things. Can definitely happen with a kicker and a new holder. It's a relationship where you have to have a lot of trust because you're leaving to go kick the ball before before that thing is even caught by the snap or by the holder. So it's a lot of confidence, a lot of trust you have to have in that person. That's why Vinatieri sent me to a holding boot camp down in North Carolina after I came out and told him I lied to Bill Polian's face. Bill Polian asked me whenever I was coming out of West Virginia, Pat, can you hold? Absolutely, I can hold. Yeah. I mean, I do it all the time. Now, granted, I didn't do it in a game, but once a week, twice a week in practice, I would do that all the time, knowing that I could be a punter in the NFL. I had no idea. I'd never held before in my life. So when Vinatieri calls me the day after the draft, says, Pat, how's it going? I go, Mr. Vinatieri, great to hear from you. You're a living legend. Can't wait to hold your balls. He goes, yeah, speaking of that, have you ever held a ball before? And I go, ooh, got to tell you, lied to Bill Polian's face. I have never held before. And you could hear a deep sigh of, damn. Then he sent me down to North Carolina to a holding boot camp with Ken Walter, his holder up in New England. I learned some things, got a couple thousand balls, and it wasn't until about midway through the season that I really knew what the hell I was doing. Going into my first NFL game, I was much more nervous and scared to hold the ball than I was to punt, so that could definitely be something with old Jake Bailey, who is bombing footballs over there for the New England Patriots. Fresh out of Stanford, by the way. Big brain on that guy. But that could definitely be something. Good insight there, cuz. Mike from Louisville.
Yo, Pat. So I'd like to throw it back to memory lane. This would have been your first or second year. I remember you getting run over by the American flag. I'd like to see if you would, what was going on through your head there. Also, was there yesterday, and the brand got a bigger cheer than Peyton. It was crazy.
Well,
what was your thought on that?
Mike, I appreciate that. I mean, there was a couple times where you're warming up, and then they start unrolling that flag, and you got about 60 to 70 military men and women running at you with the flag, and you're like, wait, if I get stampeded here, is that anti-patriotic? I'm getting in the way of the flag? There has been times where you saw Whedon have to duck underneath the flag, because that's a choreographed thing that you just got to get out of the way of the herd there. And me and Vinatieri almost did get run over and trampled a couple times yesterday when I got a chance to go out for Dwight Freeney's Ring of Honor ceremony. Huge thanks to Dwight for inviting me to that, by the way. A lot of OGs got a chance to catch up. I didn't know that we were getting announced. I didn't know we were getting announced out of the tunnel. When I got there, I actually told Gary Brackett, I was like, Gary, will you stand by me so I don't look like a loser out there? And he was like, well, you're actually going to get introduced or whatever. And I'm like, what do you mean? I've never been to one of these Ring of Honor ceremonies. I guess these guys have all been there. I'll tell you what, a little pop for the kid. Hey, a little pop for the kid. Whenever I came out, I didn't know what to do because it's not my day, right? Mm-hmm. So it's not my day. I'm not going to come out and do like an entire like Scott Hall thing. I just came out, walked out very casually, gave a wave, a tip of the thank you so much. I appreciate that. But the reaction was a bit. Pretty good little pop there. Pretty good. Even guys that hate me were tweeting like, the punter got a bigger pop than Manning. Well, I'm not just a punter, sir. Podcaster, radio show host, commentator, stand-up comedian, entrepreneur, and hopefully, to the people that are listening, a voice of reason in this wild, crazy sports world. My boys and I here in Indianapolis, Indiana, are so lucky that you choose to listen to us. It was a nice overreaction Monday. We'll be back tomorrow. And then Wednesday, we're live from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, down there downtown, coming fresh out of the casino where we're going to take every chip they got down there at Rivers. You're the absolute best. Have the greatest Monday in the history of Mondays. This has been the Pat McAfee Show. I don't know why you listen, but we're thankful you do. Cheers.